In the 1860s, the United States faced a battle unlike any other. It was not a war against an outside invader, but an internal struggle that would split families, devastate communities, and forever change the nation. This is the story of the American Civil War, a conflict that turned brother against brother. In the early 19th century, America was a country growing but increasingly divided. The northern states thrived on industry, with sprawling cities, factories, and railroads symbolizing the rapid age of industrialization. In contrast, the South relied on vast plantations, where enslaved African Americans provided the labor that fueled its economy. At the heart of this division was the question of slavery, a question that neither side could ignore. In the North, abolitionist movements gained momentum, calling for an end to slavery as a moral imperative. But in the South, slavery was seen as essential to their economy and way of life. Tensions rose as both sides realized that their opposing visions could not coexist within a united nation. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln's election as president brought the issue of slavery to the forefront. Lincoln, a Republican, opposed the expansion of slavery into new territories, and Southern leaders feared that his presidency would spell the end of their way of life. Within months of his election, Southern states began to secede, starting with South Carolina in December 1860. Soon after, Mississippi, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, and Texas followed suit, forming what they called the Confederate States of America. With the secession, the divide was no longer theoretical. It was a harsh reality. And in April 1861, when Confederate forces fired on Fort Sumter, the war had officially begun. The Civil War was not just a conflict between North and South. It was a war that entered households, dividing families and friends. For many, the war meant choosing between loyalty to family and loyalty to the cause. Brothers, cousins, and even fathers and sons often found themselves on opposing sides. In towns along the border between the North and South, one household might wear Union blue, while their neighbor wore Confederate gray. Letters from soldiers reveal the heartache and turmoil of this reality. Some wrote of the agony of knowing they might face a loved one in battle. For many, a brother against brother was more than a phrase. It was the tragic truth of their daily lives. The Civil War quickly became one of the bloodiest conflicts in American history. Major battles like Bull Run, Antietam, and Gettysburg marked turning points, with each side suffering staggering losses. The Battle of Antietam alone left 23,000 soldiers dead or wounded in a single day, making it the bloodiest day in American history. At Gettysburg, the Union and Confederate armies faced off in a brutal three-day battle that would ultimately swing the momentum in the Union's favor. With each battle, the human cost grew higher, and the landscape of the nation was littered with scars. Thousands of families mourned lost sons and fathers, and the country was left reeling from the devastation. In 1863, President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, a declaration that all enslaved people in Confederate territories would be set free. This bold move was not only a moral stance, but a strategic one, aiming to weaken the South and shift the war's focus. With the Emancipation Proclamation, the Civil War became more than a battle to preserve the Union. It became a fight for freedom and equality. The proclamation didn't free all enslaved individuals immediately, but it marked a turning point. Now the North fought not only to reunite the country, but to end slavery once and for all. After 4 years of brutal fighting, the Civil War came to an end. In April 1865, General Robert E. Lee surrendered to Ulysses S. Grant at Appomattox Courthouse. But victory came at a tremendous cost. More than 600,000 Americans had lost their lives, entire cities lay in ruins, and the nation faced the daunting task of healing and rebuilding. The scars of war ran deep, and the South was left to confront a future without slavery. The period of Reconstruction would begin, but the wounds left by the Civil War would not heal easily. The legacy of the Civil War lives on. It was a conflict that tested the strength and ideals of a young nation. Brother against brother is more than a phrase. It reflects the heartbreak and sacrifice endured by countless families. The war brought an end to slavery and reunited the nation, but it left deep divides that would impact generations to come. The Civil War taught America that unity comes at a cost, and that the ideals of freedom and equality are worth fighting for. Today, the lessons of that war still echo, reminding us of the power and the price of a divided nation. Thank you for joining us as we remembered this difficult chapter in American history. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of resilience, sacrifice, and the moments that shaped our world.